Arjun comes early to the board. He has some questions to answer here. Gukesh arrives after scoring 3 wins in a row. The match score stands at 11 points for Gukesh and 10 for Arjun. Wow, this has been a great comeback by Gukesh. You can see Arjun there getting tremendously focused. This is the last blitz game before we move to the bullet portion, and this is going to be very exciting. Arjun has the white pieces, opens the game with d4. Gukesh goes knight to f6, c4, e6, and we have the Nimzo Indian on the board, f3 line, which is Arjun's favorite weapon when playing for a win. And Gukesh plays this kind of gambit line in the spirit of Blumenfeld with b5 move, but this is all very well known theory. White does not take on b5 or e6 because it would give black a strong center. So both players just move around here and develop their pieces. White trying to keep his center while black tries to hack away with it. Now, what does Gukesh do here? He takes on c4, bishop takes, and brings out his bishop to trade. Arjun very well prepared, moving very quickly, castles it out. Now the advantage for white here is his beautiful pawn structure. On the other hand, look at black's development. All his pieces are fantastically developed. Arjun has a solid 30-second lead out of the opening. And now Gukesh has to decide whether he wants to take on d5 or push c4, which is also an interesting move. He takes, Arjun takes with the knight, knight takes, and now queen comes in. Now the d6 pawn is a bit weak, but the knight gets back and hits the queen. Queen h5. The queen has to move away, and now Gukesh has started to think. There's a very strong move here, d5, but it's a tough move to make. The point being that after d5, ed, knight d5, oh, he finds it, and Arjun can now take and play rook d1, but there's knight f6, beautiful move. The tactics work out for black. Rook d1 played directly, and Gukesh just pushes his pawn, and b4 played. You take here, the bishop is hanging. So this is beautiful tactic there by Arjun. b4, and now Gukesh has to remain very careful. Also, if he goes bishop b6, there is pawn takes c5, and the queen is protecting this pawn. So the best move now is to play g6. The only problem with g6 is that your dark squares get a bit weakened around the king. And you can see Gukesh there trying to focus, and Arjun has played this so quickly. It's his way of saying to Gukesh that I'm not going to succumb under your streak. g6 played, and now Arjun needs to move away the queen, which means that the pressure on the a5 bishop cannot be kept up. He can go queen to e5, but then rook will again attack it. So the queen has to move away from the 5th rank. Goes and parks his queen closer to the black king now. Now I think Gukesh can take cb4, knight takes d4, and maybe bishop b6, just pinning here, bishop e3, queen f6, and black seems to be doing perfectly fine here. Let's see what Gukesh replies, but he's down to below 2 minutes on the clock, while Arjun has a very solid time lead now. Gukesh goes bishop b6, and now Arjun can take the pawn. Bishop takes c5, but you have to be careful on this diagonal. Things can get a bit rough there. He takes, bishop takes, and maybe now just moving his king to the side could be an idea. Arjun making use of his time lead now. Knight comes to f4, but this is not a great move. The knight can jump to b5 and enter c3. That seems like a good way to continue. He goes knight e6. He attacks the knight. If you take here, Gukesh is happy. The position looks fine for him. And so Arjun brings his knight to the center. Knight d5. Look at this knight, so beautifully placed. And f5. What a move here by Gukesh, because now he's trying to hack away at the center. If you take here, he wants to play rook f5, attacking the knight. Queen h3 played. Looking here at the knight, which is slightly loose. You can't take the pawn because queen takes e6 is hanging. So plays queen d6, defending the knight. And now Arjun has to decide. Gukesh, although he's low on time, he has 1 minute lesser than Arjun. He has a very nice position here. He's managed to put everything quite well in this position. King h1 played, and maybe rook f7 with the idea of rook f8. It's quite possible here, or queen e5, but he takes, and this might not be the best move. Why? Because now after bishop h6 and rook f1, the f file being open is in white's favor, and this knight on d5 can become a very tricky monster here, covering all these squares. Let's see how Arjun plays now. He's completely focused there. Just trying to make sure that his move is there. There are many possible options in this position, bishop h6 being one of them. He finds it, bishop h6. Now Gukesh must go knight g7. If he goes rook f7, then rook f1. As we said, the f file being open is in white's favor. So knight g7 is the best move, blocking that. But he has 1 minute to figure things out. Another tempting move here is to go knight g5, attacking the queen. But it's a bad move. It is not because the queen will move away, because if it does, Gukesh has the idea of taking this pawn and then threatening f2 check. But the main problem here after knight g5 is the fact that I can take, queen takes, and play knight c7, hitting the rook, and knight e6 with a fork. But this is all an analysis. Gukesh may not fall for this trick of knight g5. He can go just knight g7. But look at him, using so much of his time, just down to 30 seconds. He needs to speed up now. And he goes knight g5, a big blunder there. And has Arjun spotted this tactic? Bishop takes g5, queen takes g5, knight c7 attacking the rook, and then knight e6 with the fork. It cannot be stopped. Let's see if Arjun finds it. He has 1 minute 30 seconds to figure this out. Finds it. Bishop takes g5, queen takes, and then knight to c7 attacking the rook. And after the rook moves, knight e6 attacks the queen and the rook, and also the bishop. It's going to be a mega fork. And with just 10 seconds left here for Gukesh, his position has completely disintegrated. Knight e6, queen e5, and he loses the rook there. Bishop takes f8. And now you are an exchange down. It's completely winning position here. Rook b1 seems like a good plan. He goes queen d3, attacking the pawn on d4. It's a nice juicy pawn there. With 5 seconds left, Gukesh goes bishop d6, g3 played, and rook b2. Now be careful, if you play anything like queen d4, then rook takes h2 is a checkmate. So very, very tricky move here, rook b2 by Gukesh. Arjun must be calm to keep the queen, defending the g3 pawn, and a good move here, rook b1. Again rook f2, trying for this trick, one final trick. But you can't trick Arjun in this fashion. He's just too strong for these tricks. He goes rook f1. Very nice chess there. And just that, if you exchange this rook, this is going to be completely lost. King g7. Now Arjun should be able to convert this into a win. Queen f3 played. Pushes his pawn to h5. a4, calmly moving the a pawn. Gukesh pushes his a pawn. He has 3 seconds. Check. King h7 and now trade of the queens. Queen f4. Nice little move there. Take. Pawn takes. d3 played. And if you go rook d1, maybe he wants to take the f4 pawn. So he pushes e5. Bishop b4 and brings his king to the center. This is completely winning now for Arjun. He is an exchange up and completely winning. Goes rook d1. Pawn is pushed forward. And maybe now just fixing the structure with h4 seems like a good idea. And Arjun's time management in this game has been simply top notch. Such good time management, and that kind of forced Gukesh to go wrong. King e3. And now he's just going to give up his rook, win this pawn and win the game with his e-passer. Takes on d2 and Gukesh resigns. Arjun makes a comeback there and now leads the event 12-11. As we move into the bullet section, that's going to be very exciting. Arjun is the favorite in the bullet, but an excellent segment here. Gukesh winning 3 games there. Arjun winning 2 games and 1 draw. A fantastic one as we move into the bullet segment. Look at Arjun feeling a bit relaxed there.